Afternoon, I'm Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times. On Friday, February 20th, news from Arkansas. The big news today, well, in part of Arkansas, it was ice. Glare ice, the dreaded black ice that made driving difficult in parts of the state. Even salt trucks slid off the ice up in White County. More tragic news in Rogers, where a truck with 3 people in it slid off an icy road into a lake and one person couldn't be rescued before he died. Elsewhere, I'd recommend a look at this week's Arkansas Times. The cover story is by Leslie Newell Peacock. It's about the Little Rock Airport, some interesting numbers. What she's found is because of a huge drop in passengers at the airport over the last decade, about a 22% drop, and because of the loss of flights and changes in air travel, it looks like the airport has scrapped for the time being any thought of a new terminal. The business community is talking about ways to increase nonstop flights out of Little Rock, ways to increase more travel to the airport, but there's not really a whole lot you can do except get more travelers. One interesting thing she dug up is the fact that the travel out of Little Rock Airport is among the most expensive airports in the country. That's partially because fees have gone up here high to keep the revenue and profits high for Little Rock Airport. Airport Director Ron Matthew got a huge bonus last week for what a good job he's done at raising revenues. Somebody's got to pay for that revenue. That generally means the flyers. News on the national level, too, about another Little Rock institution, the Clinton Foundation, which is based in New York, but of course operates the Presidential Library here. Partially driven by Republican opposition, there's been a great deal of reporting the last week in national newspapers, the Wall Street Journal included, about the fact that major corporations and some foreign governments have given a lot of money to the Clinton Foundation, and including during a time when some of those corporations and governments were doing business with the Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton. Of course, she's going to run for president. Those same appearances of potential conflict will exist with those kind of contributions with somebody running for president. It's really not a lot different than the appearances that are presented when big money goes into a political campaign for office. You have to wonder if there's any sort of quid pro quo attacks. The foundation has posted some statements on its website in which it says that many major corporations sometimes do philanthropy because they believe in it, and they do it for specific projects which the Clinton Foundation has demonstrated in some length have delivered some real benefits to people, particularly in underdeveloped countries. I have my own conflict of interest on this. My daughter works for the Clinton Foundation. It's not very glamorous work. She's been in Malawi and Tanzania and Myanmar helping establish HIV clinics and also helping people develop sustainable agriculture. Again, these are not exactly things that you would think would move political mountains. They just help people who need help. Talk yesterday at the legislature and a successful passage through the committee of a bill that would raise general revenues to provide money for the highways. I think we operate on faith in Arkansas that we need to build more highways without looking at how many we actually need to build. If we do need to build them, we probably need to make highway users pay more for them, particularly truckers. Instead, the highway contractors have come up with a deal to steal money from general revenue and not provide any new money so they can build highways. That has to damage other services. Governor Asa Hutchinson says he opposes this plan. We'll see if he's as powerful on the highway issue as he's been on some other issues this year. After yesterday's broadcast, we got a news release that said indeed what we've been reporting for several weeks was true. The Arkansas Arts Center Foundation, based on a strategic study by the Arts Center, believes it's time to look into building a new facility for the Arts Center. This plays right into the plan by Joe Smith, the mayor of North Little Rock, to pass a tax and combine it with some private money to build a big new arts complex in North Little Rock. Little Rock says it will do what it can to keep the Arts Center in Little Rock, but doesn't have much of a specific plan to talk about now, and perhaps not the same money sources that North Little Rock could tap in an election. Won't be an easy battle in an election, but it'll be good to see some competition, and if it produces a much better cultural facility of great tourism attraction potential, that'd be a great thing for both cities wherever it's located. No word yet on what the Attorney General will say about the fact that Dennis Milligan, the new state treasurer, hired a first cousin for $63,000 a year in the state treasurer's office. This is prohibited by law. It's a misdemeanor to do such a thing. We're waiting to see if any official action will be taken. I was disappointed the Democrat Gazette today didn't follow our story yesterday about this hiring. They've shown a great deal of attention to some other Democratic office holders who've had some similar conflicts in employment matters. Nate Bell, the Republican from Mena, filed an interesting tort reform piece of legislation yesterday. It wouldn't provide any relief to corporations from punitive damages in lawsuits, but it would devote 90% of the awards on a punitive damage lawsuit into a tax relief fund. It would cut taxes, in other words. That might give a jury a reason to award even a bigger punitive damage award in a lawsuit. Hard to imagine this going anywhere, but we shall see. Still no word if a compromise will develop on a constitutional amendment to change the rules that govern civil damage lawsuits, but there's a big push to get that done. Finally, if you want a feel-good story for the day, the Baxter Bulletin has a story that I posted on the Arkansas blog about Sam Gardner, a war veteran who does a 16-mile round trip every day to walk from a home in rural Baxter County into a part-time job at Wendy's. He does it every day, been doing it for 12 years and never misses a day, as boss says. That's stick-to-itiveness. That's the work ethic. That's Arkansas, and I'm Max Brantley. I'll be back next week.